Man, Elder Vladimir.
Oh God, that guy.
How is, what do you remember? And this is a little weird to start knowing that you are actually recording.
Yeah, it feels a little weird, but let's ignore it. That's how we do it, right there.
Yep. We're just sitting on the table, just talking. So over a year ago, we wanted to continue helping with it is great. We actually were leaving our apartment to go back to helping with it is great.
Yep.
Because that were our main goal to pioneer and help with it is great, and eventually you'll probably become a CEO.
Not probably. That's what my goal was.
Yes.
But yeah, we were need graders. That's what we did.
Yeah. You remember the time when we were driving and you actually finally said like you don't want to be a CEO anymore, and I sighed so loud and you like,
oh yeah. You were so relieved. Yeah.
I mean, I thought I wanted it. I had the personality. I mean, I love people, but when you think about where you stay every month, you're going to a different congregation, different city, different state. Sometimes you might have to stay at stay in a little girl's bedroom or their kid's bedroom, and it's just, I don't know. It's weird.
It is.
Like you barely have your own home to stay or to go back to.
You still have a home. You're just not there all year or for half the year. And then you go back home. And then half the year again, you're traveling. It's very weird. It takes a certain personality. And since we were moving around and we'd already decided to make the sacrifice to not have kids, then it made sense. We were like, okay, well, since we're already doing that, let's go ahead and shoot for SKE, School for Kingdom Evangelizers.
Yeah, remember, we actually, we our first 6 months of helping in Wedding is Great was 10 minutes from the SKE school.
Right.
We knew the couple that found the SKE school.
Yeah, the property, yeah.
That's when things started to be like, oh, it's not this big thing. I was like, oh, just a regular person from a congregation found the property.
Right. It kind of made it small.
It did. It really did.
Yeah. Like everybody knew each other, and that, they claim to have 8 million people, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, for the first time I was like, oh, okay, interesting. But the cognitive dissonance, I went straight. I was like, oh, it's because we're actually getting higher up there. We're making contacts.
Oh, you thought that?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're making contacts with people that know, this person has, they have Brother Morris in their living room as photos, they grew up with him. Oh, we're knowing the higher ups. Soon I'm probably going to meet with them or something.
I didn't even think that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that. Those people, though, that you're referring to were our really good friends. Our only friends that, we continue to speak to after leaving Florida.
Yeah. They were sweetest family. Sweetest couple. But she was a Pimo. She was. I mean, no one will know who we're talking about. I mean, I guess.
No.
But
no
still.
Names. But yeah, for sure, she was definitely Pimo. I mean, I don't want to go into details about her, but she really was a cool person, very down to earth, very real, and I think we just resonated with that.
Yeah, I like that about them. Man. Talk
Besides
about the brother we stayed at his house.
Oh, goodness. So, I guess we have to give some context, too. We left Georgia 6 months after getting married, because at the time, the video called We Live a Simple Life
I think that video F up so many people's lives.
I think so. It came out on JW Broadcasting, which was starting to become pretty popular. That was in 2015. And we watched it, and man, we were like, oh, we got to do so much. You know, we got to do more. We're not doing enough. And we had only just been married.
5 months.
No, we were married. When we watched the video, we had only been married 1 or 2 months.
Yep.
And so, you know, we worked towards finding a place to go. And we called our circuit overseer. We tried to find work. And eventually we landed in Florida. And we tried to find housing there. This is one thing that other need graders or SKE grads would tell us how difficult it was to get support from the congregation. I don't think we really took it in consideration until we got there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was willing to rent us a place except one guy who was super shady, and we didn't want to deal with him at all. And another brother who ripped us off, basically.
I mean, no, before that, there was a brother from the congregation, but he was setting down his rules.
Rented from. I can't say we met any bad people. The brother we rented from, he was truly not a good person to us.
Not nice at all.
No, he was disgusting. He was gross, and he took advantage of people. And it was just, we felt that we needed to do it. We were told and taught for years that, you know, you make sacrifice for God's work and that you would reap the benefits or the blessings later. And so we wanted to have that pioneer spirit, that self-sacrificing mentality that is so conducive to cults. They want their followers to be self-sacrificing.
Yep.
But the cult never gives up anything on behalf of the followers.
But yeah, the leaders, what are they sacrificing?
Nothing, you know. They live like kings. And so, you know, we went to Florida. We had that experience. We were only there for 6 months. And when we got back, before even we got back, there was already another opportunity waiting for us in South Georgia.
But before that, though, they almost made you an elder.
Oh, yeah. You know.
We were, having trouble to come back to Georgia and stay or come back.
Yeah.
It was interesting. But
it was crazy.
Ashburn was interesting. Talking about Ashburn.
Yeah.
Well,
that was rough.
Yeah, it's non-developed. I mean, there were so many Haitians there that was working. It's like they're working in cotton field.
No,
they
that's
were.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were literally working in cotton and watermelon fields.
Yep. Beans and stuff like that.
When you drive down there for the first time, you feel like you went through a time machine.
Yep.
And you're watching people in the 1700s literally picking cotton by hand. I didn't even think that was a thing anymore. I thought there was a machine that would,
I thought so
do
too.
that. But
I think they did use a machine for the cotton too. They were doing beans.
they were literally picking cotton. They gave us a sample of cotton. Don't you remember?
Oh yeah.
They picked cotton by hand.
They really exploited those people.
There was one lady who showed me, because apparently, I don't know what you call it, but the cotton plant has some really hard portions to it. She had a splinter under her nail from picking cotton. Anyway, horrible thing to see, very sad, and we spent several years going back and forth to South Georgia to reach these Haitian people.
And you remember how before we would go, we would make sure we go super simple.
Mm-hmm.
Don't show them our laptop or our phone because they want to get a laptop or phone. Don't try to teach them English. Like, we don't want them to move up in life.
Yeah.
We want them to stay where they at so we can continually study with them.
Yeah. Yeah, because once they get a life in America, the study is over, you know.
That's so not okay.
No. And many people wanted to have the study just so that they can learn English.
Yeah.
And that was something that witnesses couldn't stand because they thought, you know, the person was actually interested. But in reality, the person they've got so many things that they're taking care of for themselves. They're new in a country. They may not have the education or the work that they prefer. And so they're just trying to make a life for themselves and their children. But you're here trying to convert them. And yet they need to learn the language of the land, and you're not willing to help them with that because you're so focused on them becoming witnesses. It's a very selfish thing. While we were doing it, I really didn't realize how bad we were.
We had a lot of Haitian Creole people in the territories.
Yes.
But then we had decided to write Bethel.
Yeah, we wrote the branch, and then by the time we wrote the branch and received a response, I was already awake.
You were waking up, or you were already fully awake? I mean, by the time you get the response, you were awake.
Yeah, by the time I got the response, I was awake.
Let's talk about you waking up. The process. The very first time, I think the conversation is getting to where it needed to be.
You're jumping. There's so much that happened.
There's so much to talk about,
we were regular pioneers, need graders. We were a young couple trying to find a place to go serve. We wrote the branch. We did all of the stuff that the cult told us we needed to do.
Yeah. And before that, I think in 2019 was the year where we planned to visit Bethel as a group, and that was going on.
Oh my God.
And so right before that, I think a few months before that, the plan was going. No one actually wanted to go.
In our congregation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to. Yeah, I want to go visit Bethel. People say that just to say that because Brother Maurice guilt trip people about it. Or you going to Disney? Why don't you come visit Bethel?
Yeah.
You spend more money at Disney. And the guilt trip, I was like, oh, you know what? I wanna plan something. I be talking loud, I know. I wanna plan something. Let's do that. And everybody was like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And once everything started to plan, I don't know. It's expensive.
It was expensive.
It was expensive, yeah.
It was expensive.
It was.
The bus fee, we were spending, 7 days out?
Yeah, it's a whole week.
Yeah, so the bus fee, the hotels, even if you're going on an independent trip, each night in a hotel, let's say you got a cheap hotel, $60, $50 a night, which I don't know where in DC and New York and Canada you could find cheap hotels like that. But let's say you do, $40, $50, $60. That's still a lot of money for most people.
It was not expensive.
So it took us, how long was it until we actually did it? A year and a half?
For a year, yeah, and a year and a half.
We planned for a year, and then we actually made it happen in half a year.
Yep.
So a year and a half between starting the plan and actually going to the branch, or to Bethel.
Yeah. Now let's jump on the time to start waking up. You were always have your little light was always on, flashing, but you were trying to ignore it.
Right.
Became this very spiritual brother because you found a sister. Why not?
Okay.
Am I lying?
I mean, I did what I had to do.
I cannot. So we're flipping through. We like watching shows together.
Yeah.
And Hulu suggested Cults and Extreme Belief,
a program on A&E.
I mean, what were we watching that Hulu suggested something like that?
We were watching Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yes, that Handmaid's Tale. Before we go into the A&E program, Handmaid's Tale, if anyone's watched it out there, it's a hard watch, as you already know. If you haven't watched it, it's really hard to watch in some scenes.
It is. If you pass the first season,
after the first season,
you're okay.
You're hooked. Really, the story is so well told, but it is a huge trigger for anyone who's left a cult. It feels like you're in it.
But we didn't leave yet. We were watching, but we watched it in secret though.
We watched it in secret, and also every time we watched it, there was something all too familiar.
Yes, it was weird.
The place that they lived in Handmaid's Tale is called Gilead.
Yeah, what's with that?
Gilead.
I feel like somebody that was a witness probably.
Right, and
I never done research.
you know,
that,
they had a circuit overseer. They didn't call it that, but that was what his function was.
Yes.
They had elders. They had ministerial servants. They had the same roles, so it felt very familiar, and we were watching it uncomfortably, but we loved the show. Anyway, that's a little advertisement for
and Handmaid's Tale, if you hear us out there, you know, hey.
Handmaid's Tale. Very weird. The main actress, I forget her name now. She's a Scientologist.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Very interesting. Anyway, so Hulu suggested the show called Cults and Extreme Beliefs because we watched Handmaid's Tale.
That makes sense. Before that, can we also talk about how weird it has become? Like, I would get in trouble because other witnesses always want to know what kind of show you watch.
Yes.
And you're not, you know, like there's some shows that's questionable.
Yeah.
So there's one time this couple asked, what kind of show you watch? And I'm like, yeah, I like Stranger Things. She's like, is that demonic?
Isn't that demonic?
And then you looked at me like, shut up.
No.
You didn't say that.
I was like, in that moment, I was just like, you see, this is why we don't tell people nothing.
I was like, oh, I see.
But no, well, I feel like we go on tangents too much. That's another experience that we have to tell in a different time.
I go on tangents a lot.
But
anyway.
We watched Cults and Extreme Beliefs.
Oh.
We were flipping through it, and the first episode, I think, is on Nexium.
Yes.
The one with Allison
the
Mack.
Numbers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The second episode is on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, we're like, what is Jehovah's Witnesses doing here? And then you closed it. I was like, okay, come on. I know you're going to watch it. We might as well start watching it because I know you will.
You did say that.
And then we're just like, okay, fine. Let's just watch it.
Man.
Our curiosity.
You're right. But, you know, I was going to watch it. I was going to watch it by myself without you there. Because I knew, you know, it was going to cause some problems. And I didn't want you to judge me for wanting to watch it. So.
Man, I'm sorry. Judging each other for watching something. So we ended up watching, and as we were watching it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to change our lives.
Yeah. It did feel pivotal. It felt like something was different from that day forward.
I like that word.
Pivotal
moment.
It was a pivotal moment.
Of our lives was this show.
Wow.
So, Cults and Extreme Belief producer, you did it, okay? And I know it wasn't just us that it woke up. I'm sure it woke up some people from other cults.
Right.
So
I'm sure.
After we watched it, we're like, hold on. I don't think we said anything about it together. We're just like, is this true? What is going on? I felt so bad for that sister.
Very quiet for the rest of the night. We might have watched another show or something to kind of wash the taste out. Yeah, because that was heavy. It was very heavy. Very sad story. If you haven't seen it, you have to go watch it. It's just.
Be advised though.
Yeah.
If your heart is not ready for that, don't do it.
Right.
I bet some people cried. Like, it was sad. I almost cried. But the whole time I was just like, you know, the Pimi, naivety. Is that a word? Mm-hmm. Just like, why are they treating her like that? You know, like, why don't they listen to her? Right. Oh, I mean, why they won't let her get to the gate? It was just like, maybe it's the congregation treating her like that.
Right.
Not that everybody in the organization is like that.
But there was a part in the video where they showed Gary Bro giving a talk on morning worship, saying that he would never, or they would never change their policy on the 2-witness rule.
Yes. I think I went to look for that video.
Right. And I think in secret, I went to do my own research because they made so many claims in the video. I just couldn't let them go. I was, talking about the the court cases, all of those allegations, them being in the news, I needed to see for myself what was really going on. And so I went and did my research, and I was surprised to find that everything that they said in that video was true.
And all that research, you never told me anything.
No. I was losing my mind. At that point, I wanted to forget about everything, but I couldn't. And the mental anguish that it caused me made my insomnia worse. And I was very depressed, and I had suicidal thoughts.
That's sad. I couldn't understand. I think I mentioned to you, I was like, are we not going to talk about what happened? The video we watched? Yeah. You were like, I did a little research, and it's true. I was like, you did? Mm-hmm. I was like, are you for real? It was just, I didn't know what to say to you. And I don't think you talked to me much about it. You kept all those feelings to yourself.
I had to. You know, the best thing that a wife can do in the organization is rat her husband out. You can't serve in any other capacity. You could be a pioneer, and you could be a snitch. Those are the two privileges that a wife can have.
Oh my God, that's so sad. That's messed up. They make you a snitch.
Right.
They tell you not to gossip. Witnesses are the most gossipers ever known.
It's terrible. Anyway, after watching that, everything started to spiral very quickly. I think I'd already become an elder by then. Mm-hmm. That we watched it, I think, in April. We watched the program. April, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was already an elder since the previous December, since our last CO visit. And that year, while watching the program, I was going to rehearsal to sing at the International Convention in Atlanta.
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
That was the most torturous experience ever. After watching the video, and then to go back and be singing all these songs, and then really hearing the lyrics, it was so hard. It was so hard. There were sometimes, driving back from rehearsal, I just wanted to, pull into oncoming traffic or something. It was horrible. Horrible feeling.
I can't imagine. I was with you, but I don't know. I don't know any of that. You hide it very well. But what about when we were going to our assembly? I think it was in Florida. You were listening or singing in that car. Were you awake then? Were you waking up?
On our way to Florida?
I think we had a assembly in April or something like that. I guess it was before we watched that video. Because you were interested you were excited to rehearse those songs. You were trying to learn them.
Right. So, the initial excitement of wanting to be in the concert for International Convention was a way for me to quiet all of the inner voices that were telling me that this was all a scam. I was trying my best to be a good witness. I had just become an elder. I'm learning all of this stuff and doing all these meetings with these guys that, it's showing me a different side of the organization that I wasn't privy to before. So now I'm learning all this stuff I really didn't want to know. So, yeah, being a part of stuff, extracurricular stuff if you can, that was a way for me to just be like, let me be a good witness.
Because that's what was a little confusing to me, because at first, you remember your sister was trying to do it as well. You were excited. You're like, no. I think she was more excited, and then you were like, let me try. But then they chose you instead of her. That was a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, because everybody was already done making their groups. They just needed a guy.
Okay.
But they didn't want to come out and say, oh, we need just one brother.
Gosh. Whatever. Yeah. Waste everybody's time. But that was kind of weird. I was like, okay, I thought you wanted to do it. Why you not hyped about it anymore? Why you don't really want to do it anymore? Yeah. Now I was in a position of pushing you or trying to encourage you. Every day you were it was draining because they were taking all your day, all your evening after work. or if you were off, you still gotta go over there.
Hours and hours and hours of rehearsal.
I didn't even have to, like, you had to eat dinner over there.
Yeah.
Or sometimes. It was weird, but all of that you're waking up. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And then you keeping that from your wife. Like, you talk to me the most about everything, so you weren't talking to anybody about this.
No one.
The other weird thing was, now we in July, the assembly was it in June? No, it was in June. We in June. The Bethel trip is actually going on right now. We're going to the Bethel, and you waking up, but you're not telling me anything.
Right.
But before that, I'm always kind of like changing things because the story is so complicated. You remember, as you waking up, now you talking about going back to school. That was the problem. Mm-hmm. You didn't tell me about the things you were finding out. Now going to school was the main problem that was between us.
Right.
Because we still weren't going back to school, was not going back to school. Now you're talking about going back to school. What about our goals? What about going to SKE? What happens to that? Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Oh, man. We do jump around with the story. I guess where we are now is 2018, December. I become an elder. 2019, April, we watch the program on Hulu. May is the international convention, I believe. And then we had...
So it was in May.
It was in May. And then the week after our Bethel trip, we came back on Sunday. Monday morning, I got up to go to elder school.
Yes.
All this time, I'd already been waking up. Right before we went to the Bethel trip, maybe 2 weeks before then, I signed up for school by accident. So I was on Ambien for this insomnia that was, killing me because of stress and all that. And on Ambien, you can do so many things and not be aware of them. I know people by now know about Ambien. It's a terrible drug to be on. But I woke up one morning and one school was like, "Hey, congrats, you were accepted." I'm like, I did not sign up for school. How can I be accepted? So I'm calling them, and they're telling me that I submitted an application, and they sent me, where I had already submitted my transcripts and all. At what time of the morning? It was like 2:30 in the morning that I had done all of it, and they were like, "Yeah, you did this," or at least somebody did, and I'm looking through my history in my browser, and I really did sign up for school without knowing it. So, when we went to Bethel, on the way there, because I felt like jumping out of a moving bus, I was a recluse instead. I started studying for class, even though I wasn't in class yet. I knew I needed to take math and chemistry because I wanted to do something in the medical field. So I started looking at that, started practicing little math problems because my brain was so far removed from being a student that I knew I had to start right away. Because, higher education is a sin, apparently, according to witnesses. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I went to Bethel and then went to elder school after that. And that's really what woke me up, elder school.
Yes. So while we were going to Bethel, I think that was Wallkill.
Mm-hmm.
The week was going okay. I mean, it was crazy dealing with everybody, actually seeing everybody's true colors.
Yeah. People are not good when you put them all in a bus. 50 people on a bus.
Nope.
People are hateful.
So I remember we were driving to Wallkill and we saw the entrance.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we saw on that video.
You mean Warwick?
Warwick. Okay. Yeah. Warwick. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Warwick.
You're so right. It was on the video. And I remember we just looked at each other like, oh my God, that's the entrance. That's where she brought her disassociation letter. Yep. To that very gate.
Yep. And that came back to me now.
And her interaction with Barbara.
Yes.
From Bethel as well. That was so powerful. It moved us. Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. You want me to talk about elder school?
Yes, you don't have to talk about everything, but like,
give a little,
give us a little something.
A little avant-goût.
Yes.
So, Bethel. I mean, not Bethel,
elder school.
Elder school. That was an opportunity for them to force feed us different administrative things and paint it in a way that made us feel like we were doing God's work, of course, but that we were following Jesus by doing certain things. One of the things that really made it shocking for me, it was a video of Mark Sanderson basically espousing the benefits of gay conversion therapy. It's not a video that you can get your hands on. It's not anything that is made available anywhere. But he talks about a brother whose son was gay at one point, in that they sent him to gay conversion therapy, which they don't offer. It was a worldly service, he said.
So messed up.
Right. And now he's married with kids and he's living a fine life. And I was just like, man, I was like, whoa, this is horrible what these people are saying in this video. But you weren't allowed to take pictures. You weren't allowed to ask questions. It was 2 circuit overseers who taught the class. And before class started, and on multiple occasions for reminder, they would tell us, this is not a forum for you to ask questions. If you have questions, wait till in between, and you ask your question personally, but you don't ask it in this forum. This is us teaching you something.
Teach and you listen.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that was it. So, of course, we were with the Haitians, so whenever a question came up to a brother's head, they would just raise their hand. But they would get scolded for raising their hands.
Wow.
Or they would get the evil eye. Like, don't you remember I told you this is not a question and answer? So...
Are we back in school? Are we back in primary school?
Insane. And there were a number of things that I can talk forever about. But that was one that was big, the gay conversion. They wanted us to go around in a circle talking about what we loved most about the teachings, about the new light. And you have to make something up.
You remember the whole thing about... Go ahead, finish, sorry.
And then there was an occasion where the brother was referring to, not namely, he didn't say it directly, but he said, oh, there's going to be things that come up in the news, that go to court, and, people accusing the organization of this or that. He was very vague, but everyone knows exactly what he's talking about.
And you already knew, already done research.
Exactly. So
wow.
I'm sitting there waiting to listen, and he said, oh, let's read this verse. I forget exactly the verse, but it basically says that to never accept an accusation against an elder except by 2 witnesses. And then boom, that hit me. Really... We didn't read the 2 witness part. We just read, do not accept an accusation against an elder, and pause there. And you know how they like to make comments on the A part of a verse, and then on the B part.
We just read a portion of the verse.
Yeah, a portion of the verse out of context. He starts talking about how elders need to watch each other's backs, according to that verse, because the sheep want to take the elders' privileges. And his exact words were, ancien yo, pi frè passe l'autre frè yo. The elders are more brothers to each other than they are to the rest of the congregation. When I said this, when I heard this, my jaw dropped. The brother next to me elbowed me, kind of like, hey, are you good? Or kind of like shut my mouth kind of thing. My jaw dropped.
How can you hide your emotions from this?
I was sitting in the front row. I was just shocked, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just... How is he saying this right now? And then he saw people's expressions on their face, and I'm pretty sure he saw mine. And so he tries to reword it. He's trying to find a way to say it, but every time he repeats it, it comes off worse than he said it before. And it's just a horrible thing. That's what made me realize that if an accusation comes up against an elder, I have to take it seriously, and I can't treat it like these guys do.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask you something else because I was gonna take him and you can. But that was crazy. I mean, you came home, try to talk to me about that, like how. Oh baby, they talk about this, but I'm like, no, that's not what you talking about. You're like, but they said this and that, and I'm like, huh? And the other one that was bothering you was the whole about the mediator.
Oh shit.
Yes.
So I'd already done that research before, and I wanted to ask the question at elder school, but then they hit us with the no questions thing. But yeah, apparently witnesses don't believe that Jesus is their mediator. So he's only mediator for the 144,000.
So when we go to people's houses and they're saying we don't believe in Jesus,
yeah,
that's exactly what they're talking about.
That's what they're referring to. They may not word it.
Jesus.
Yeah, they may not word it in a way that is irrefutable by us, but that's what they meant. We never knew what they meant when they say that, because according to us, we believe in him.
Yeah.
But that's what they mean, is that we don't believe he's the mediator. And according to the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, officially, he's not their mediator. And no one really knows that.
Yeah, because when you ask me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Jesus is. You're like, no, babe.
And I showed you the publications, too.
Nah.
She's like, yeah, but I don't believe that part.
We choose some parts to believe or not.
So now, I feel like I've spoken a lot. You tell me, during all of this, what was going through your mind? Start from during the Bethel trip.
During the Bethel trip, I was able to just switch up. Like, just don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we're in Jehovah's house. But the Bethel trip was weird because I expected to see everything. I paid money for this. Like, you can tell me I can come and tour your house. It's a big mansion. Yeah. But you only showed me the living room.
Yeah.
And then downstairs. Meanwhile, I know there's 3 floors.
Right.
What's going on up there? And what's going on? So it was weird because there was so many little parts that were just chosen and prepared to be seen. So that was like, okay, is there more or that's it?
Very manicured.
Yes, that was weird for me. And it was like that for all of them, except the one in Canada. We were able to see everything. We were going in the background.
Yeah,
kind of everything. It was still manicured as well.
It was a printery, so they showed us all the printery stuff.
Yeah.
So it felt more involved, I think.
It did. So it was just, everybody was like, I enjoyed this one more. I enjoyed this one more.
Yeah, everyone said that.
Yeah, but you can tell like they were hiding for something. They were very suspicious.
Yes.
Because even like, remember I had a friend that was gonna come meet me up there. Like, even when we were on our way, they're like, okay, you said 52 people. Why are you saying 53?
Yeah.
Who's the extra person? And I was like, huh?
Like, well, why such high security?
And they had her pulled in front of the parking, like just to wait to make sure. And I was standing in line. None of them acknowledged I was standing there. I'm like,
yeah. I
know customer service, but I'm in Jehovah's house. Why isn't customer service premier number 1 here? Like, They treat me like I wasn't even there. When they finally came and just like, she gave me a fake smile. Yeah, how can I help you? By the time she helped me, they actually finally let her came in. But for her, it was not. She's like, no, I was just cleaning my car while I was waiting.
Yeah.
But I was just like, that's weird. Why? They think it's like they think somebody's going to come to do something.
Yeah, they're so paranoid.
Very paranoid.
Nobody wants your stuff.
That was weird.
Very, very weird. The property is massive, but we literally saw... the top and bottom floor of a section that they let us see. Yeah. It was, I don't know, how big of the place was that? That wasn't very big.
That was Warwick, babe. Warwick.
Yeah, I'm talking about the little section that they let us see. It was nothing. It wasn't even the size of a school gym.
Like I tell you, it's the living room of the mansion.
Right. Nah, living room would be a bigger... It was the closet
Oh, that's exaggerating.
of
That's
how
a little
big
something.
of how big that place is.
You're
If you look
right.
at it on a map,
You're
they
right.
showed us the closet, bruh.
Cause like there was one floor, like was one section of the building. Cause there was
Yeah.
like different buildings.
Massive, and you saw people living, just walking around.
Yeah.
The property spans very widely around the lake that's there.
Or there was just a section from the lake too you could see.
Yeah. Oh my God, they had a 10 by 10 section.
Yeah, and we didn't get to see that because they closed it by then.
Yeah, it
I
was
feel
roped
like-
off, and you were only allowed to see it. And John Cedars talks about why.
Yes, that's funny. Was
He's
were
the
they
reason
there
why.
that day?
No, they were there months before we went.
That's funny.
And that's why because you have no vantage point from that section, and so
so
you
John
wouldn't be able to
Cedars.
see John Cedars.
You made
if
me
you
not
were
able
out
to
there.
see Bethel.
Yeah, come on, John. Lloyd.
Goodness. So when we get back home, you telling me the whole thing about the elder school. That was weird for me. In my head, I'm like, okay, he's trying to find every excuse from Watchtower now. Everything is wrong now. Everything is wrong. And going back to the whole ambient thing, you start speaking things in your sleep before you go to sleep. And I'm the type of person that's like, okay, let me find out what he's hiding. So I will dig you.
God.
I would ask more questions and you will answer me. And the next day, and I'll tell you about it. And you're like, what are you talking about? I never talked to you about that. And then I was like, yeah, you did. He said, what are you talking about? You were hiding it very well until one time I actually recorded you.
Man,
Don't mess with me. Don't try me.
no.
I pull out receipts.
Goodness.
So you're like, that's my voice. That's me. What am I talking about? I think you were telling me how you do not want to be in the organization anymore. And every night I was going to sleep with this man telling me all this crazy stuff. But this is, I don't know. What else do you wanted to talk about? Do you have any questions?
Little bonus, I guess. When we went to the Bethel trip, we also went to the Met Museum in New York.
Yes, we did. That was fun.
The museum is beautiful.
That's a must see.
Must see.
We gotta go
But
back.
we made the mistake of going on a JW tour of the Met
Everybody
Museum.
was saying, well, you have to go to the JW tour.
Of course they would say that because they come up with this tour that's well
Free anyway.
presented and it's technically free. You
Yeah.
give them huge tips because they give you the sob story. Anyway, everybody gave a tip of like $20 a pop, and there were 50 of us. Okay, so
That's
no,
a nice little
free,
side job
free
here.
but not free. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, the tour is very popular. They have a website. It's a business. It's not Bethel sponsored, but a couple of them are Bethelites, part-time.
They
at
have
least.
Bethelites going to the tours there for
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And the stories they come up with as to why this particular artifact or sculpture or something, it dates back to this. Here's the pharaoh that was there. Maybe the stones we're standing on were stood upon by Joseph himself. And you're thinking,
like,
oh my God,
I'm passing the same
Joseph.
pillar that Joseph passed by.
Joseph, you were here. I was like, come on, man. Even if you was, right? Even if you believe Joseph was a real person, why can't we just enjoy the museum? Why do we have to go around with this tour guide that is telling us what to look at? We can't go down this corridor or we can't go down this exhibit because certain exhibits contradict what he's saying. There were certain things he'd be like, some of the things that you'd see in here are falsely dated because carbon dating is wrong, and all the witnesses are shaking their head. Yep, carbon dating is wrong. There was one exhibit that they were looking at and talking about. He was giving some story about how God's name was protected in some of these artifacts, and right next to what he was pointing to was an artifact that an arrowhead that was dated 10,000 years ago, which doesn't work because the way witnesses teach it, mankind is only 6,000 years old. So to have an arrowhead that's 10,000 years old, it was so contradictory, and it was very ironic that he was pointing to literally the thing next to it.
But one thing that's funny, that also was manicured. They did not show you everything. There was stuff. He had a list. He had a binder he had to flip through.
Yep.
To show you. You saw that because you actually step away from the group, step away from what he was showing, and read for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Reading.
That's interesting that you say that. Yeah.
Educate yourself instead of waiting people to educate you on things.
Right. We did walk away from the group too. He was like, no, everyone stay in the group. He did not want us to go and look at stuff by ourselves.
Yeah. Meanwhile, everything has some kind of description on the bottom or on the picture.
But no one read them,
tour. It's just so much. It was a lot of information, but...
Not just that, too. What's interesting is he knows, and I'm sure they all know, people going to the Met as a tour, you don't live in New York and do stuff like that. You might go to the Met, but it'll be like, you go on a day or a date or something. You're not going on a tour, unless you're a kid, to the Met Museum as a grown person. Mm-mm. So you're most likely from out of town. So you're not going to just walk around by yourself, potentially get lost.
Yeah.
It's a huge museum. And so they know this will be probably the only time you come out here to look at this stuff. You're going to follow the tour.
Yeah.
And you're going to listen to what they tell you.
I want us to go back one day and just enjoy it, spend a day or just...
We're close now.
That's funny.
I don't know if he's
I don't think it's open.
Because of COVID. But, very interesting. There was one story I'd like to say about the Met Museum. The guy, I don't want to say brother, but the guy, after telling a story about how the dung beetle was used to depict Egypt in a potentially a way, kind of like a jab that Jehovah was taking against Egypt, to compare Egypt to a dung beetle that eats poop. Mm-hmm. That was kind of like a, inside joke that God gave, and he said, "Oh, I have no proof for that, but imagine that's what God was doing, And I'm like, he's coming out with some brand new light. He came up with some brand new light right there. No Bible verses to substantiate it.
Flashlight.
Nothing. This dude came out with a flashlight, talking about, maybe we can imagine. I hated that so much. After he told me that, I went and talked to him, half awake, and I'm like, yeah. So tell me about yourself. And he confessed to me that the name he gave us, I don't remember his name that he gave us, was not his real name. That he and his wife were serving in a country where the work is banned, and that they were in the country illegally, false identities, false degrees. They work jobs that they're not qualified for over there so that they can make ends meet, just so that they can preach the word of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow. And that's not lying.
No, he was telling the truth.
No, I'm saying like them doing that as a witness is not lying.
Oh, yeah. And that's not lying. Because you're doing it for God.
Wow.
Totally
but I mean, it's
insane.
a sad story for them, but it's just like...
I felt bad for him that he was so tricked by a cult that he would put his life and his wife's life in danger like that.
Yeah. And
that she would put her life in danger and his life in danger by going over there. But they're two very special idiots that I will never forget.
That's not okay. That's not okay. Because if they are, we all were idiots, okay?
We all were idiots, but they were two very special types of idiots. Because at our deepest, most profound P-me status, mentally at our deepest, most zealous moments, We never imagined going to a country where the work was so banned that you were under a false identity, claiming to have a degree that you don't have, just so you can make ends meet, just so you could preach out there.
It's the sacrificing spirit, babe.
That's not a
It is.
No,
that's you sacrifice
stupid.
Everything for Jehovah.
It's stupid.
He's like, I don't care what it is.
It's
so stupid. The idiots.
When he said that, I looked at him. I was like, "Oh."
You were half, but you shared that comment though to the group. Everybody was so interested about that.
Well, I shared the comment because you were kept on. What's the word? I've never used this term. Max as a witness wife was the most nagging wife ever. She doesn't nag now. But before, I didn't even use the word before. Now that's how I can define it. This woman, I was the leader of the group, right?
Excuse me, you're the captain.
Captain.
My captain.
And so she wanted every now and then, oh, it's so quiet. Say something to encourage them. Oh my goodness. Everyone's mad back there. Everyone's mad. How do you know? They're texting me. Oh. Say something. You're not going to say something? All you talk about is school. And I was talking about school a lot.
You are killing me.
But, you know, so I grabbed the microphone on the bus. They had a little intercom thing. And I told them that
it wasn't just me, though. How do you call the upper leader? The top, the chief... that sister that planned everything, she had a schedule like, oh, can you everybody share the comments? And I'll be a second and be like, share something, babe.
Oh my God. Oh,
wow.
Man. That was.
Can't believe he just called me a nagging wife.
Oh, back then? My God.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
Anyway, what an experience. We went into more detail than I thought we would. I guess all I wanted to say was that this past year has been a ride. We've had so many experiences. We've developed, some good habits, some healthy ones, I think, that are helping us pursue mental and physical health in a way that we just didn't see necessary as witnesses. And it's very important to take a step back and assess your mental health, and I think everybody should really do that so that they can be happier and so things can go well for them.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. It's very true. Everything we went through is teaching, all these experiences we can use them to learn more and teach. It's interesting. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be awake. I'm grateful that you helped wake me up. This thing is going along, but next time we can talk about your secrets to waking up your wife, Vladimir.
Oh, hush.
Because you woke me up, okay? And I'm sure I wasn't an easy one to wake up.
Let me tell you this. If someone wakes up, it is because they are someone who loves what is right.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the person waking up. The person has nothing to do with the person who wants to wake up their loved one. It has more so to do with the heart condition of the person who needs to wake up.
Yeah.
The one who's sleeping.
Yeah.
So everyone who credits me with waking them up, that's not exactly what happened. I encourage you guys to do your own research, and you were willing to do so, and that's what happened.
I wasn't willing to do research in the beginning at all.
Not in the beginning, but eventually you did, because you saw and you remembered that documentary too. Mm-hmm. But you saw things that were wrong, and you were willing to investigate. That's what woke people up. It had nothing to do with me.
But you can look up once you could do. You can take a little bit of it. You take a little bit. Take a little bit. Because
I'm happy. I'm happy. I can't say I'm not.
Yeah. that whole not, try to be humble and not take the compliments. It's not me. It's Jehovah.
No, I mean, it's definitely not Jehovah. This
no,
is,
I know. Like the whole, when people give you a compliment.
Yeah, and then you have to give it up to God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is not it. I'm giving it to you guys. Because the same way I went through emotional issues and, mental anguish trying to juggle all of that and trying to wake up at the same time, it's the same thing you guys went through. So I don't take credit for it.
Yeah. I think there has to be a part 2 in this because there's so much more. Because after waking up, when you actually was like, okay, I'm waking up now, I'm leaving, because you went through a moment of that. You was like, okay, you were trying to hold on, but now I'm not staying.
Right.
And then me catching up to that, because you started drinking, like, oh, you got yourself a drink like Brother Morris. That was funny. But next time we can talk about that.
You can't leave it on that. You can't say I started drinking, like I started becoming a drunk.
No, you didn't drink, but like it was just like, your sister came and said, oh, you don't drink like that, Vladimir.
Yeah,
I bought
some Macallan's whiskey, and anyone who's in the know will.
Don't sip on water before.
Some Macallan's whiskey. Anyone who gets it, though, it's an inside joke for ex-witnesses and PMOs. Because you know about Bottlegate with Brother Morris, who bought $800 or so worth of expensive whiskey. So I was like, yo, you know what? Bottles up. Let's go. And I wanted to buy my own bottle in defiance.
You looking at you drinking, looking. I was like, okay.
You didn't get it.
You by yourself, okay.
And it's expensive.
You looking at me and smiling like I should get it. I was like, okay, what is he doing?
I was losing my mind is what I was doing.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Oh, you drink now. Okay. Because I think after Bethel, we actually bought a drink as well.
A shot or something. Yeah. It was nothing like... I didn't develop a bad habit. I just... every now and then when I thought about it, I was like, hey, let me have a shot. It was interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was very... But anyway, we will stop here. And until next time. And we will continue with more. Thank you for your time, Vladimir.
Of course. Thank you.
That's Relax Max. Relax Max. Relax Max. Relax Max.
I will leave it in the video. I will do that just to you.
Relax Max. Max.
Her name is also Max.
Are you done?